Hey guys, back again with Books and Boyfriends. I'm Alex, and who's Brian, the boyfriend. And it's another solo review. So this week I'm going to be talking about 56 Days. So this book, oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, so I had kept seeing it all over my Bookstagram, people talking about, go read this book, go read this book. And I was like, okay. So finally bit the bullet, did it. And I actually, it was an ebook I borrowed from my library. So I don't know about y'all, but I am old fashioned and I love physical books. Ebooks are hard for me just because I'm like, I like the physical book to like sit there and just and read it and flip through the pages. And when you're looking at a screen and you're like going like this, just don't feel the same to me. So anyway, I'm not gonna lie. I was a little traumatized though. It's a good book, but it is talking about COVID. So like times, like what happened, like what life was like right before the pandemic happened. And I don't know like where y'all are from, but this book takes place in Ireland and I'm in America. And I know that everyone's restrictions were definitely different. Like I know Australia had really tough lockdowns, and I'm pretty sure, excuse me, it's been a day, y'all. I'm pretty sure that Ireland did too. Don't quote me though. I'm not 100% sure. I don't live there. So, before Ireland. See, I told y'all. Okay, so right before COVID hits Ireland shores, there's this couple that meets in a supermarket. And then lockdowns start to happen, and clearly, like, I don't know if y'all remember, but that, changed everything. In the book, it said that they were only limited to like a 2 kilometer radius. I don't feel like that sounds right. Maybe 10 kilometers. I don't know. Don't quote me, but something like it was a very small, like you could, you know, only go a certain distance. Like which for me, like reading that, and I mean even reading some other stuff in news articles from people all over the world, like saying that they couldn't even leave their house, or like they could only leave their house to go to the supermarket or like to get medicine or a doctor's appointment, is crazy to me because I mean, like it was like that here in America too, but the cops weren't going to pull you over to check like if you went to the grocery store in the next town over, because where I lived at the beginning of COVID, um, I mean, they had several different stores within like a 10-minute radius of me. I was close to our mall, which, wasn't open, but everything was just super close to me. So if a cop were to pull me over, he wouldn't question like where I live and all that stuff. So reading that was really almost kind of like traumatizing, I feel like, because I was like, okay, this is crazy. And, again, I don't know how y'all feel, but reading that post like mid pandemic, hopefully endemic now, it's just like, oh, okay. So I gave the book a 4, and really I feel like that's probably why, because it's traumatizing to read about the pandemic when we're still in the middle of it, but at the same time, like, stuff is so different now, even like from 2 years ago, clearly. Because, and I'm like, we live in Texas, and so this time 2 years ago, Governor Abbott was like getting ready to lighten the restrictions where, things were slowly starting to open back up at the end of April and whatnot. So, back to the book. So, Ciara and Oliver, they meet in the supermarket, and they exchange numbers and whatnot. Well, they're supposed to go on a date when they get news that, their first COVID case has hit where they're at. And so then Oliver's like, well, maybe we should just move in together. And Ciara's like, okay. So she hasn't even known him like 2 weeks at this point, I think. And yeah. So basically it is a POV from Ciara's view, or point of view from Ciara's view. That makes no sense. So we have two POVs. We have a POV from Ciara, and then we have a POV from Oliver. So Oliver did something whenever he was younger, and he's not proud of it, which is a reason why he moved to where he is now to try and get rid of his former demons, what had happened in the past. But Ciara knows that he is not who he says he is, and it almost leads you to believe that she has some sinister thoughts about this, and or she has, not sinister, but she has other plans, we'll say, like motives. There we go. I was like, what is that word? She has an ulterior motive for moving in with him, and she really wants to get to the bottom of what happened in Oliver's past. And then suddenly Oliver is dead. He's found dead in his apartment. And apparently he's been that way for 2 weeks because someone complained about a smell, and then there's some cops that come out and they're like, oh, what's going on? So that's where we are. So the book is a 4. I would say I would give the characters a 4 just because I feel like the lead up is very, it's a very slow process. And I don't know about y'all, but some other books that I read that are from different points of views, however you want to say that, the lead up is not, it's very quick. You get to know the person in like 1 to 2 chapters within their point of view. I just didn't feel that way with this one. Like, I felt like it took a while to figure out, like, okay, well, Oliver's dead, but how did he die? Because you're pretty much, sorry to spoil this part, but you're pretty much led into that his body's been there for 2 weeks, and then it's like, okay, let's rewind here. And then Ciara, it's just like, again, it takes you just a while, so that's why I was like, So, book 4, characters 4, I would say the plot is actually a 5, because it's almost like, I feel like, not that people weren't paying attention, but at the beginning of COVID, so many people were scared. We didn't know, we didn't have really any information about this virus. And they, you couldn't even get close to your neighbor. Don't touch me, 5 feet. So I really loved the plot of the book because it's just like, what better time to commit a murder than during COVID, and I feel like that's where this book that's leading, like, okay, well, someone's going to commit a murder, it's COVID, and there's COVID restrictions, who's going to go check, obviously that sounds horrible, and like, I love true crime. I listen to so many true crime podcasts, and I watch true crime documentaries, whatever. And so, like, it's just crazy because if y'all look at the statistics, crime skyrocketed during COVID. Domestic abuse, murders, just like all this stuff because people were stuck inside and they were with, their abusers or, whatever for longer periods of time because people were working from home. You couldn't go to work unless, you were deemed, whatever, necessary. You were needed. So, I just was like, wow, okay, like, this is so crazy. So yeah, that is 56 Days, and that is by Catherine Ryan Howard, and I'm just going to show y'all a brief bullet bit. That's from my Instagram, so it's not the best pick, sorry, but yeah, so I would say a solid 4 out of 5. Also, the ending, I was just not fond on. Like, the ending it didn't end out the way that I thought it was going to be. But then again, when does a book ever end the way that you think it's going to be, unless you can just predict books, which I can't. Sometimes I can predict movies, but not very often. So, anyway, that is that. And I just want to say thank y'all again for the subscribing. And thank y'all for the Instagram follows, all that good stuff. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, please do. It's at Books and Boyfriends 20, and it's a picture of me and Brian and then my daughter. So, yeah, and I just want to say thanks for sticking around. This is Books and Boyfriends, her choice and his obligation. We will see y'all next time. Bye.